So October is Black History Month in the UK, so I thought let's talk about some books by Black British authors. Before we get started, all the books can be available to you, if available, in the description down below from bookshop.org. Bookshop.org works with small and independent bookshops in the UK to help get them a little bit more money when you purchase things on bookshop.org. So starting off strong, Black and British History. This book isn't just about kind of modern Black British history, it is about the entirety of Black presence in what is now modern day Britain. So there is a 2021 edition of this book, so it does cover things like the Windrush scandal and also the BLM protests. But Black and British is basically covering the entire presence of Black people in Britain, going back as far as like Roman history, because the Romans, much to the chagrin of many far-right people, was a pretty diverse empire where people from places like Africa and Black people and brown people held prominent roles in the Roman Empire. So it covers basically Black presence in Britain from about the times of the Roman Empire, goes into Victorian Britain, goes to kind of, colonialism, then modern British history, so since World War II, and kind of the presence of Black people in Britain and the trials and tribulations of Black people living in Britain. It's a really great book, it is a really informative book, and also, you might learn a couple things you didn't know about, Black presence in Britain from this book, so it's quite cool. Next is Bernardine Evaristo's Mr. Loverman. I think I made a video about this book well over a year ago, but I really, really like this book. It is about kind of being in the older Caribbean community in London and also about sexuality. It is about a closeted gay man and his partner and how they're trying to deal with it in the modern day because of the societal implications and the trials and tribulations people like them faced in the past, and trying to come to grips with maybe we need to get over this, but also family dynamics surrounding it because they are older in their 70s. And it's really sweet, and it gives you an insight into this community and kind of those layers. Obviously, I am not a Black man, I don't live in the Black community, but kind of seeing the parallels you might see within the Asian community with that. Again, but I'm also a straight man, so again, I can't put myself into their place, but kind of viewing those trials and tribulations that they face, and like maybe people in the Asian community might face when they are maybe older and gay, or even just young gay people face kind of like additional trials and tribulations that perhaps white communities may face. It's that kind of intersectionality on top of it. It is a really good and interesting book. It was moving when I read it. I remember one trip I was reading it, I was on the Piccadilly line from I can't remember where, and I'm just trying to get to Fulham Broadway, and so it was a very long journey because I had to change off the Piccadilly line to get from Broadway and whatnot. Anyway, but I vividly remember reading the book on that journey, and I was just like, oh, my heart, man, my heart, whilst I was reading this. So that's why I'm telling you to read Mr. Loverman, because it is heart-wrenching and just, I feel the feels. Thirdly is Brit-ish by Afua Hirsch, which is basically her memoir about, being Black in Britain and the Black identity in Britain. She also talks about kind of her time growing up in a predominantly white suburban area and kind of what it was like being one of the few, if not the only, Black family in that sort of environment. Also the trials and tribulations she faces as a Black person trying to be a lawyer, and kind of the barriers to entry or the assumptions people make about her. She talks about the erasure of Black history in Britain, which is becoming more and more prominent. I think we have seen a rise in populism, and we see more and more white British people kind of viewing minorities and sort of Black people in Britain as not having a history here, even though they have had a long and storied history in Britain. Refer back to that first book I spoke about. It's all interconnected, guys. So I think it's a really great, interesting way, and it's from her perspective. Oh my god, I struggle with that word. So the first book was more like, this is history. The second book is kind of a fiction book, but also addresses issues. And then this third book is kind of her experience as a black woman in Britain, and kind of also being from her diaspora. She's Guyanese. So I'm trying to pick people from different places and sort of different experiences with these three books, and you'll kind of get a different thing from each book, where the first one is more history based, the second one is a fictional story, but also, you know, just like a wider community issue and intersectionality. This one also intersectionality, you know, kind of the trials of being a woman and being a black woman in predominantly white Britain and predominantly white spaces. And this is their own personal experience. So, you know, I'm trying to give you a little bit of something from each book that is slightly different, but trying to, you know, encapsulate different perspectives and sort of ideas. But yeah, that's why I kind of think I would recommend British with those other two books I recommended in mind. And the final book is A New Formation: How Black Footballers Shape the Modern Game. And I'm putting this in, initially it was, I love football, so I'm going to put it in, but also it does give you another perspective. It gives quite a few perspectives, but it also shows how black people influenced football in the modern game, I guess. And it has interviews with various different footballers, but also has kind of like retrospectives about influential black footballers and their impact in the game. There's a whole section about Wrighty, which is great because everyone loves Ian Wright, even though he played for Arsenal, and you know, he was a very good footballer for Arsenal, and my team was abysmal during the time he played for Arsenal, but let's ignore that. Yeah, it is super interesting. I believe I read this entire book on a flight to Australia, and it was the only good thing about that flight, I'll be honest. So again, tangentially sports related, but also kind of talking about race in sports, which again, for some reason, people are like, keep race and politics out of sports, particularly football, when football is arguably the most political sport in the world. And the influence of black footballers cannot be understated. And also, it does delve into sort of some of the prejudices that black footballers face in football. So, just to give an example, oftentimes when commentators, and I'm interested in commentary because it might be something I want to do in the future, commentators oftentimes will describe black footballers, and this applies to other sports as well, differently to how they would describe like white footballers. So again, this is a tangent, but like they'll oftentimes use words like powerful and strong and stuff when describing black footballers, and with white footballers they kind of more so talk about their technical skills and their technical ability, even if a black footballer is just as, if not more technically gifted than a white footballer. And that's not to say, you know, being strong isn't a bad thing, but it's sort of that inference, oh my god, I'm struggling with words today, that inference that, you know, sort of black footballers, especially black men, their role is to be this strong, like warrior, fighter type thing. They're aggressive, whereas these white footballers are more like, oh, they're intelligent and technical. It's a very interesting concept to learn about, and interesting to see that, you know, commentators need to unlearn this. That was a big tangent, but you know, you understand why stuff like race and politics is important and should be addressed in football. So those are my 4 books I want to recommend to you. Hopefully across all 4 books you'll get different like views and perspectives and kind of learn something different from each one. So like history, like societal stuff, individual experience, and then impact. I guess impact can be seen across all 4 as well, but you know, I'm trying to give like a broad view of, you know, black history and black presence in Britain. Yeah, so hopefully, you know, you can go away and read all of these books. I think all of them are great. Let me know in the comment section down below if you have any of them, or you're interested in picking them up because of this video, you know. But wow, that's a good pat on the back, isn't it? But yeah, let me know in the comments down below. You can get all of these books, if available, from bookshop.org in the description down below. Bookshop.org works with independent booksellers and bookshops to get a little bit more of a kickback whenever you buy things off bookshop.org. Alternatively, go and find them directly from an independent bookseller. And even more alternatively, get the books from your local library, because we love local libraries here. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share the video with a friend or family member, and I hope you read a great book today. I don't know why I said that so aggressively.